Hi there. This is the technical analysis session for Polkadot with Wyckoff and the air hockey table analogy. So these are the three key takeaways you can expect from my sessions. And let's start with the weekly chart. So from the weekly chart, we can see just this week another long wick pointing all the way to this 2.28 level that I shared in previous sessions. So this level is a level beyond like any past history that we have all the way till 2020. So we have to seek way back 5 years ago in order to find these two reference levels. And fortunately or unfortunately, this level has been tested. So over the past few weeks, I talked about this level, and maybe some people were hesitating whether that's the case, right? Because for the past 3 weeks, Polkadot has been testing at a level similar to the test we had, that this Wyckoff stage over here, around mid-June. All the past 3 weeks successfully, closed around this level. This week started by dropping way all the way to test 2.28, and that means even though some price levels were like 5 years old, it's still relevant today, and this may not be the end yet. We hope to see the price continues to at least close above this white dash line. This line currently stays at around $2.99. Okay, if you want to make it simpler, I can make it $3 just to make it consistent. So this, remember, is a level that's been set by the test in June this year, just 4 or 5 months ago. The spring, we already talked about. We're going through the period of the spring, just that we don't know whether that's the lowest point of the spring. So this week we tested a point that's not as low as October 10th, but close enough in terms of direction and the level. Like I said, not in the past 5 years we have seen any of this, up till back in 2020. Okay, in terms of Wyckoff stages, no change as of this moment. Spring, this question mark is where or how low it's going to go. Higher possibility is for the test to continue. Okay, like below 4.3, this red key level, and the $3 line that we've just drawn. Let me put in the price here as well, because I remember some comments just recently. Some of the charts, the key levels are drawn way towards the right hand side, and when I talk about the charts, the price aren't showing up. So it's better to always have a number so you can see clearly. So to the upside, sign of strength, back up last point of support. That's around the orange key level of $5.2 that we probably have to wait for a while, because there are multiple resistances for this to go through. First, the bottom edge of this long-term playground zone, this white box, okay, that's around $3.40, and eventually there is an intermediate resistance over here at around $4. It's interesting when you look at the chart. These kind of psychological numbers, like the unit numbers, $1, $2, $10, or $100, depending on the coins you're trading, or even for Bitcoin, 100K, 90K, that kind of, whole numbers. They always seems to play a role around these kind of trading patterns. So this sits around $4. Okay, and you can see that a lot of the candlesticks heads or tails ended there, meaning the price opens or closes around those levels. So that's why I say it's kind of interesting whenever we draw on the chart and see these kind of things. Not that it kind of make this into a new key level at this low point. If you still remember the term, the criteria that I used to determine a key level with 4 or more points, basically. Let's make this key level now while we're talking. Right, purple. Yeah, so we have, because we're just cycling across the rainbow colors. So if this is another key level, that's how we've got the first one, the second one, the third one, 4.3, and then this intermediate level before the sign of strength level of 5.2. So there are 4 key ones and 1 intermediate in order for the price to go back to test or show us the sign of strength. This is the first milestone before the price can go further and to get back into the accumulation, no, get past the accumulation, let's put it this way, into the distribution. And in December 2024, within 5 weeks, it climbed to the climax from the very bottom of the spring. So would we see something similar this year? I really hope to see that happen, because we are at a spring. I don't want to see it go down any further like the one on October 10th. So hopefully no surprise in terms of bad news coming up. So before getting to the daily chart to see whether there are any potential breakout timing, let's take a look at the Bollinger Band Keltner squeeze. The squeeze still going on that started in June, okay? We're still within the squeeze. It's taking almost half a year now for the squeeze to gather strength. Last time it happened, I'm not sure whether Polkadot has won, because some of the charts, this just doesn't show, I mean the indicator itself, because let me switch back. I don't want this one, just want the volume back. Okay, yeah, so there are a couple of periods for Polkadot that I would consider a squeeze, just that the chart definition doesn't show them. So during this long period where the orange and purple are basically touching each other, especially this period, the squeeze ended with this swing. And then eventually we get into another one. So these were very close, just very short period of squeeze where the indicator doesn't even reach that point to show us. But this time, the difference is we see these two getting into an actual squeeze. So we are, any time from now, the biggest swing is going to happen. So expect the price, hopefully not swinging to the downside first, but start swinging outwards, much like what happened back in end of 2023, even 2024. So 2 kind of narrow range trading period, whether it's slightly downwards or more horizontal, eventually that's when the price shoots up. History may not repeat exactly, but that's our hope, especially if you are a supporter for this project. So let's get to the daily chart. Here, once again, checking the Bollinger Band Keltner squeeze. You see that we had a squeeze that started last Thursday, and we are somewhat seeing a swing happening. So by that I mean, you see these kind of magnitude, the gap between the top and the bottom. Okay, that's around 35%. Okay, over 30% on, like, to make it simple. Previously, before the move on Monday, that's where the range was. You see this narrow gap after the automatic rally. Okay, that's the horizontal trading range. We talk about 30% that we have over the past 4 days. Now compare that to that of the previous, I don't know, 14, 20 days. That's like half of what we're having in the past 4 or 5 days. Okay, so that's why I say the swing may have started. So let's switch off the Bollinger Band Kernel Squeeze back to the Wyckoff. Last time, or like multiple sessions, we talked about this thing over here. Is this actually an accumulation cycle that already happened or triggered by the October 10th event? There was just 1 day of preliminary support, and then we already reached the selling climax, and then subsequent stages happened. What happened on Tuesday, just 3 days ago, may potentially be a spring. If that's the case, if that's the spring, and that we are bouncing off from the spring, what would happen is, sorry about this, I am on a new setup today, and I used to stream on that's like a Windows PC, and now I'm streaming on a Mac. So the controls and, like, all those control keys are different. So this will potentially see a sign of strength. Hopefully this rise, or this this pump, would at least close somewhere near this white resistance line at around $3.40. Okay, so that's the first stage, or the first stop, before getting towards the new distribution cycle. If this is successful, next step, we may potentially see a backup or last point of support stage. This may or may not happen, because sometimes the price rises so quickly that we don't see such a clear period. So here, after the sign of strength, you see this platform period. Let me enlarge this. Okay, so that's the period I was talking about. Sometimes after sign of strength, the price may retreat a little and then give us this kind of horizontal period before the price climbs. Other times, it may have a horizontal period at a high level. So that's why I put this tag that sits right over there. If we go further to this side, you see similar things happened. There is always kind of like a retreat and then go up. But not always the case. Sometimes it's just go from the sign of strength and with a very short fill horizontal trading candlesticks, and then it goes up. Not that this is the case. This was the distribution. I think that's a good example. After the selling climax, especially in the daily chart, this can happen. A very short 2 days, it already shoots up. Okay, so when we look at the daily chart, we have to be careful that things behave a bit different compared to the weekly. So if we go to the weekly, we see a lot of clearer stages without much of noises. Let's put it this way. So let's see, this spring over here, it pops up to somewhere around, not exactly sign of strength, but get to this horizontal period, and then it went to the buying climax back then. That's another tricky part. Sometimes the peaks are just lower than the previous crazy peaks, so we have to adjust along the way when we look at the charts. Okay, let's see what else I haven't covered. Breakout timing, right? So you may be waiting for that to happen. Obviously, this is something old that we haven't updated. We don't need a percentage here, and there's basically no second test. So previously the yellow scenario is assuming that we're still in a distribution cycle until the point of October 10th, which pushed the price all the way to the bottom. So that, to me, it's way lower than the selling climaxes back in June and August. So that's why I consider this an accumulation already. So that yellow scenario, we can scrap it. So now back to the breakout timing that I just brought up. If we are in a new uptrend, assuming like the swing that happened on Monday as the beginning. I know it's weird, it's a red candle, but stay with me for this, because that I've got a couple of candlesticks for reference over there on the left hand side as well. That's why I choose to start from that point. So we have the low just 2 days ago or 3 days ago on Tuesday. Let's say that's the starting point. We don't exactly know how quickly the price would, or the rate of rise would be yet, because we've got only a few days of references. Because the rate can climb like the box I have drawn, at this slope, or because we've got so few reference points, it can be somewhere like somewhat more steep or more gradual. We won't know until the price bounces off from the ceiling. So in the very beginning, we have to wait, okay? Because it can happen in this way. I've drawn multiple slope or rate of climb for you to visualize what's happening at the beginning stage when we draw this hockey table. Okay, we expect the price to bounce from or between the ceiling and the bottom, and also the center line, but that doesn't mean we know exactly what it is now, because it's still early stage. If this is really the top and this is the bottom, what happens is this climb today or tomorrow would hit this ceiling and bounce off. When that happens, we know the likelihood of that being the rate of climb is getting higher. So as of now, somewhere around $3.30 is a potential ceiling. If it doesn't, if it comes off right at where it is, at around 315 now, then next time when I come back, next week when I see you in this session, this is where the box will have to go to. But for now, I am aligning the bottom edge of the box to the 4 candlesticks we have. Okay, the bottom of those sticks, assuming that's the rate of climb we're having as of this moment. Alright, so breakout, getting to the end of next week, somewhere near November 14th, because the price is already above all these dashed line in here. So I'm excluding these. So you see multiple triangles at those points. I've got 2 bars over here. I have to move them a little. Yeah, so we've got 1, 2 triangles over there. So I'm skipping those because we're trading above them already. I'm just talking to you about this one. This cross over here points to November 14th. Okay, if the price continues to trade, it looks like an ascending triangle in candlestick pattern analysis, all right? I'm not mentioning those patterns, but you can always refer to those, because those are not always happening according to the textbook definition of candlestick patterns. So that's why I sometimes refer to them so you can visualize what's happening, not saying that after an ascending triangle it must break towards the upside. That's what the textbook sets, okay? But that's not always the case. So anytime from now till then, if it breaks above this resistance around $3.43, that's the confirmation of we getting a sign of strength. Okay. Hey, Joe Lip, awesome content. Do you cover ICP also today? No, not today. So ICP, if you look at my community post, it's on Sunday. However, I know the community, ICP community, is very active, and I'm planning to see, very likely to include one more ICP session. So 2 sessions for ICP in the week. But because the days I cover, I only go live 5 days a week, I don't want to get it too close, get the 2 sessions too close. So potentially it will be shifting to Tuesday and Friday. That's my thinking as of now, because it's one is right before the weekend, and the other session is like a day after we come back during the weekend. So there's only like between Tuesday and Friday, 2 days in between. So a lot of times during the weekend, the activity seems to be lower as well. So that seems to be a good break between the 2 sessions. So thanks for asking. Going back to here, yeah, just to recap, we expect sign of strength coming. If this happens, that's the first good sign before going to the new distribution cycle. Hopefully this is really the spring, because like I said already, sometimes after a sign of strength, the price can come back down for another test before it goes up. So if this really happens towards this, it may still come back down for like to trade a bit before it goes further up. So I would say if you have already go in, it doesn't matter to you if the price retreats to some of these dash line. Alright, I believe your stop loss would be somewhere around the level you got in. But if you got in higher, just expect that the price may still come down before it eventually continue upwards. You're welcome, Joe. Yeah, so remember this, the mid-November that I mentioned in the daily time frame, this breakout time point, that's the first one. In the weekly, we see this downtrend line from these 2 candlesticks back in mid-September and early August. Sorry, not August, October. What am I thinking? Yeah, so this and this, basically. We're heading, the price, if it continues to trade sideways above the $3 support line, that's where somewhere near the end of this month, these 2 lines crosses. And that's a potential breakout timing as well, other than or in addition to the one that's coming in roughly about a week's time. Alright, so let's hope that Polkadot finally finishes its accumulation cycle, because if we look at the weekly chart, the bigger picture, last 2 times the spring back in 2023 and 2024, both in October, one in November actually, 2024. Now we are at a similar time. 3 years in a row. Hopefully we see this to repeat and seeing a new climax coming soon. Wish you good luck, and thanks for joining me. I'm moving on to the next session. See you over there. Yeah, Joe Daddy, many Joe we have. Whether or not it's following ICP, we'll soon see. A couple of altcoins basically have gone through this period already. I hope that really is the case. So if people believe in the concept of altcoin season, I don't, okay? Because I mentioned many times, if you look at the charts of the altcoins, they basically go in different stages. what's happening now may be the beginning of the altcoin season. I'm not sure if that really is such a thing. Hopefully it goes in a way that repeats again. Like if Wyckoff method still works today, like what I've been sharing over the past almost a year or so, and we are at a post-spring period, which usually comes before the new climax, quite a number of altcoins are going through that period, and ICP has popped up already. In an earlier session, people mentioned about Secret, which I already covered on and off. Some of those have already shown signs, and I hope we really see a new climax. But then that means the risks are getting higher, and it's time to get out pretty soon. All right, good luck. See you later. Yeah, maybe. Let's hope to see